that the judge shall okay, I think that I'll tell you some jokes. Hundreds of days in one. And a young California and he wrote home that he got a job. He says, that's a feather in my cap. And then he wrote home and he says, I got a promotion. That's a feather in my cap. And he wrote home, I got a raise. And that's a feather in my cap. Comes the holidays, he wants to come home for the holidays, and he asked his father to send the airfare, and his father said, take some of those feathers and fly home. And here's Franklin Buell to sing you a hymn. I have to show you this from the New York Times today, Monday. Bob Magnus is the lead defendant in my third lawsuit against the murdering of public access and of public access production. This is the third lawsuit against Telecommunications Incorporated. And today is November 18th, 1996. Anno Domini. And here's Franklin Buell, my husband for 42 years and my only husband, and I, his only wife, to sing you a hymn for Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be thankful for, and I am thankful for you.
We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. Each hastens and hastens his will to make known. The wicked oppressing now cease from distressing. Sing praises to his name. He forgets not his own.
Churches on the Eternal Word Television Network, and we're going to play you some calls that came in Friday about TCI, Magnus, order to show cause, Rakoff, etc.
No calls. 5 messages. 10:33 a.m. Friday, November 22. Hi, my God. This is Ellen. That's from the Marsh Property, County of 4.
Joanne Goodson from the U.S. Marshal's Office. This is Oscar Bryan. This is Katie Kitten. This is Ginny Kitten. That's right. You don't want to show cause also have to appear along with it. The magistrate cannot entertain that. You have two choices. Either to come back on Monday and fill in a security section, which Judge Rakoff coming back removed. Or you can go today to the court judge in New York City. The magistrate cannot hear this. Okay? My number is 390-4000. That's Lorraine Lombardo, Deputy Clerk, United States District Court.
This is Lorraine once again. In addition to your bond provision, you must know that again, you have two choices. Either you can come back on Monday to see Judge Rakoff,
those were the Westchester messages. Now let's go to Long Island. You press N for Nassau, Suffolk. You press auto dial.
Enter code.
16 messages.
7 p.m.
18 in all.
Friday, November 22.
You are crazy in the head.
Message 4. Message 5. 10 p.m. Friday, November 22.
I'd like to get a copy of the book. My name is Steve. Address is 472 Middle Island Road, Gas Tank, New York, 11980. Thank you. My phone number is 345-6040.
Message 6. 11 p.m. Friday, November 20.
Folks, did it ever occur to you that you could pick a day when you're going to die, and then if it doesn't happen, you can start all over again? And the teacher said, draw a picture, and the girl brought up a blank piece of paper. The teacher says, what's that? And the girl says, that's a cow eating grass. And the teacher says, I don't see any grass. And the kid said, well, the cow ate it all. This is for you, Brett, and for you, Neil. And then the teacher said, well, I don't see any cow. And the little girl says, no, after the grass was eaten, the cow left. Now, Lincoln walked a mile, or 10 miles maybe, some extraordinary length, to return a book to a library, and we honor him by closing the libraries on Lincoln's birthday. Isn't that nice? And the policeman said to the motorist, what's your speedometer say? And the motorist says, it doesn't work. And the policeman says, what? How do you know how fast you're going? And the motorist says, well, at 30 miles an hour it rattles, at 40 miles an hour it shimmies, and at 50 miles an hour it stops. We are reporting to you about the lawbreakers, liars, and uppers, Cablevision Systems Corporation, and Charles Dolan, John Tata, and William Quinn. And where is this case right now? Well, where's the microphone right now? The case is in the, it's in a few courts. It's in the United States Court of Appeals, the Second Circuit, and this coat got too much material. Waiting for a petition for rehearing to overturn the atrocious decision of Charles L. Bryant, Jr. in staying a person's trial and selling the United States of America down the drain. All of these people are traitors to the country. First you got Dolan, Tata, Quinn, and Cablevision, and then you got the liars, the liar for hire, the lawyer. They hire Robert Callaghan, and then you got Charles L. Bryant, the United States District Judge. You would think that a United States District Judge would be honest, and you would think that a United States District Judge would look out for America, wouldn't you, and the Constitution. But no, it isn't that way in the federal courts, and I felt so badly that on Friday I was told there was a tour of the federal courts, and I said, who is it, the Queen of England? And then later I found out, no, it was a group of third graders. And I think it's terrible the way they bring third graders into that courthouse, for which we paid $33 million, and tell these third graders that this is where you find justice, redress of wrongs, protection of rights. It's a sad, sad thing that they start lying to the third graders so soon. Anyway, Glendora versus Cablevision Systems Corporation, Charles F. Dolan, Mark A. Lusgarten, Francis F. Randolph Jr., John Tata, James A. Colfault, Joseph Osnauer, Thomas Gardner, William Quinn, William J. Bell, defendants appellees, and this is on appeal from the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. To date, these lawbreakers, liars, and cover-uppers have cost us $7,911.75 print, postage, and rip-off court stenographer fees. Wouldn't I like to have that money now? 3,723 hours of our lives times $250 per hour, which is what these monopolistic, greedy, grubby sharks get per hour. I'm talking about lawyers. And then you multiply 3,723 hours by $250, folks, what do you get? You're right, $920,625 worth of legal labor. That's almost $1 million. 46 volumes, 13,936 pages, 5 file drawers of Dolan, Tata, Quinn, law-breaking, lying, and cover-up, 297 TV programs, a half an hour each, reporting the same, 3 years of betraying their country, the United States of America, and 333 million, mailings. 333 mailings. And what papers went in this week? A paper that Judge Bryant recused himself. Plaintiff requests Charles L. Bryant recuse himself from her case, 93 Civ 8344. She has lost her confidence in him. She has lost belief in his fairness and impartiality. Charles L. Bryant is doing her more harm than good. He is doing the United States of America more harm than good. He has betrayed his country and militated his oath. Anybody who wants Glendora's respect has to get it. Make it the old-fashioned way. You've got to earn it. Just the fact that you're a hollow person in a hollow black robe, sitting at a bench of the United States District Court, does not get my respect. Your protection of rights, your redress of wrongs, and your being a good American is what gets my respect. Glendora is outraged by his Camarilla. Those are his secret, unofficial advisors. There is no way Glendora can be taken off of TV by Cablevision. Glendora is entrenched in Long Island at 1395 New York Avenue, Huntington Station, New York, 11746, Route 110, 516-425-0304. She is on every one of the 5 cable TV systems in Long Island. Is it 5, folks? The Woodbury system, the Hauppauge system, the Riverhead system, East Hampton system, the Brookhaven system. Yes. All of them are Cablevision systems except one. The residency is a dead issue. It was dead July 19, 1995, when you, Judge Bryant, adjudicated so, but since you have memory lapses, Glendora has settled the question the practical way. 1395 New York Avenue. You have no reason to stay Glendora's trial, and you never did have. Residency never was an issue. Dozens of public access producers who are not residents in the Woodbury system have their programs on the same channel Glendora is on. Glendora edited her TV show at the Woodbury system 6 hours on November 12, 1996, Tuesday. We were 23 hours there, Huntington Library, Toro Law Center, Board of Elections, Nassau, Nassau Consumer Affairs, Nassau County Clerk, 1395 New York Avenue. Massapequa were paying to transcribe the audio tape of the Dickinson trial, since you, Judge Bryant, would let Cablevision, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn rob us of $350 subpoena money. Billionaires rob and inform a pauperous. That's how crooked they are. To say nothing of $95 audio tape and let them get by with producing no insurance agreement. You make us pay over $1,000 for deposition minutes by not following Rule 30b-2, which says that a deposition can be videotaped, nor the Second Circuit rule that depositions shall be videotaped. You have been dangerous to our health, a warning cigarette manufacturers are required to post. Residency is a dead issue, and you should know that by now. It is no grounds and never was for staying Glendora's trial of these Cablevision lawbreakers, liars, and cover-uppers. How this man lies. So far, Glendora is the only victor because Glendora is the only person in this lawsuit who didn't sell her soul. Defendants did, lawyer did, and the bench did. And then I tell him what he has cost us with his mismanagement. What I just told you. It would have been smarter to have kept Glendora guessing, but now she knows there's no hope ever of justice, protection of rights, and redress of wrongs. Why are you afraid to give me a trial? Why do you run away? There was no need to have put Glendora through the Second Circuit February 1994. If you had ruled correctly, she wouldn't have had to go. It is just too bad you hate pro ses, but you look at your job description. You are under oath to take care of pro ses. You have elongated this case into 300 documents, United States District Court and United States Court of Appeals, and your handiwork marched to October in the New York State Supreme Court. Wherefore, plaintiff requests Charles L. Bryant recuse himself from Glendora versus Cablevision, 93 Civ 8344, 2 3/4 hours it took to write this, and $3.75 to print the post. Well, I made an affidavit in good faith on Title 28 United States Code 144 that if a litigant signs an affidavit that the judge is personally biased or prejudiced, and in this case both, the judge is to step down and another judge is to come in immediately. But Judge Bryant, in his sadism, denied that. I found out. I haven't got a notice of it yet, but I found out that it is in the computer and an order has been issued. We have Judge Bryant. We have some minutes going to be typed down in Massapequa of the Dickinson trial, where Dickinson is just as bad as Bryant and every other judge I know, where Dickinson didn't even rule on these crooks, Dolan, Tyler, and Quinn, taking the $350 subpoena money that Franklin gave them to come to trial and to pay their travel expenses. And when the trial was stayed, you think that they would give the $350 back to the rightful person? Not these people. They deposited it in their bank account. And we went to the Yonkers City Court to get justice. But of course, there is no such thing as justice in the courts. I'll come over there and show you a picture of this Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 144. There it is, see it? Sleaze, sleaze, sleaze. Betrayal of America. It is not the America that Franklin offered his life for. Normandy to Weimar, D-Day, to Victory in Europe Day. Let's see. I appealed the Silverman decision. The decision really isn't against me. The decision is not for Cablevision. The decision really didn't do what the appellate division, the slugs down in Brooklyn, the second department, told Silverman to do. It's really a nothing. All it says is that Silverman goes back on his word of 2 years ago and says that it's up to the Public Service Commission. It's a heinous cop-out. It's a public disgrace. But I appealed it, and I was able to do so without paying $50 fee as a poor person. And I had to do it because Bryant was using that as an excuse not to put my trial back on the calendar. But I can withdraw that appeal, and I certainly will have to withdraw it if the skinflints at the Supreme Court of the state of New York, so-called, and not so supreme, the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, makes me pay a RODI fee of $250. RODI, you can translate it as RADI. It's Request for Appellate Division Intervention. And I appeal Bryant's decision, saying that he wouldn't put me on the calendar until I had appealed the Silverman decision, and with all of his threats and everything else. Well, Bryant, you've got a public record here that I would not want to pass on to my progeny. You have a very bad, bad public record. I have something like 300 docket entries, about 200 in the United States District Court and about 100 in the United States Court of Appeals. But I have done my job. I have exposed these traitors to their country. We went through the docket today. It's page after page after page. You press H for history, and you're there, and there, and there, and there, and the poor computer trying to bring up all this information. I feel sorry for it. And but I found something in there, and I never got an order on this, and it's the first time that Franklin and I knew it, that Bryant ruled back on December the 11th of 1995, that Glendora should have the minutes with no charge of the October 26th conference, and 2, that Cablevision must pay Glendora $120 for the Thomas Geiger audio tape Cablevision ordered and never paid for. And you see how long they've gone defying the court? So when I get time, folks, I'm going after both of those things. I'm going to try to get my money back on the minutes, and I'm going to try to get my $120 for the audio tape. Order on this, and it's the first time that Franklin and I knew it, that Bryant ruled back on December the 11th of 1995, that Glendora should have the minutes with no charge of the October 26th conference, and 2, that Cablevision must pay Glendora $120 for the Thomas Geiger audio tape Cablevision ordered and never paid for. And you see how long they've gone defying the court? So when I get time, folks, I'm going after both of those things. I'm going to try to get my money back on the minutes, and I'm going to try to get my $120 for the audio tape. This book that I'm reading is a wonderful, wonderful book. And these people know more about Access than Rakoff and Fox and Smith and Bryant and Parker and the whole Second Circuit. No. The Access Manager's Handbook. They know about public access, and they know what it is. And let me read you this Charles Dolan. Factors for successful access. Not that you want access to be successful. You want to own all of the cable channels, including our public access channels, and we don't even have one. All we have is share telecare, and that's got to stop. We have to have our own freestanding public access channel. A clearly designated access channel or channels. The viewer seeking the access channel should know exactly where on the dial to find it. Clearly defined access management which should be either the cable company, a non-profit access management corporation, and I want to work with my folks out there in Long Island to form that. I want a non-profit access management corporation, a local library system, a municipality, or some other community-based organization. So you ought to read this book, Charles Dolan and John Tata and William Quinn, and learn about television. Let's see what else is going on. This is the Folsom Family Bulletin annual report, and it reports on the Folsom Family Association that Franklin and I went to last summer, and here's many, many Folsoms. My name is Glendora Vesta, V-E-S-T-A, Folsom. Here are the Chiron instructions, so very well written by Michael Zamuda. He's done a wonderful job on this, and he tutored me on it for like 2 hours. And now I know a whole lot more about the Chiron. And every day I read one of these pages. I've been doing that since long before Halloween. Okay. This is my think. No, this is jot thoughts. Thoughts that come to you. You know, thoughts come to you, folks. Thoughts, I think, are electromagnetic waves. I really do think that. With the highest frequency that we have. And the shortest wavelength. I really do believe that. Anyway, thoughts come to you, and they go. And if you don't write them down, you will never hear or see of them again. Something here to tell you. What was it? I said I must tell you this when I see it again. See how they go? See how thoughts go. That book, by the way, I got from the Huntington Library. Now, another book I read every day, I read a page of the Toro Law Center catalog. And it's very, very good. I would never go to law school because I would never be a lawyer. I would never be a judge. I will always be my own person, I hope. Anyhow, I read a page of that. And I read all their high-toned efforts, you know, about public service law and public interest law and pro bono. It's more like Sonny Bono. And it all sounds very good, but what you see in the courtrooms and what you see walking the corridors of the courthouses is anything but that. Everyone I've ever met, well, with the exception of 4, 5, is greedy, is grubby, is dishonest, and is completely bare of soul. Oh, look who's here. Oh, look who's here. Oscar Bryan is here. Oh, look, Oscar Bryan. Come over and say hi to your fans. Oh, yeah, see your fans. I know the light is just terrible. Yeah. You want to see how big he is, folks? Will you please stop biting me? He's so cute when he's good, but that's very, very sad. You baby. You too, baby. Stop the biting. Terrible to relate that I have gone over to the cellar in basement C, and I have called his mother, and I don't see anything of his siblings, and I think they have been murdered. I think they've either been shot or been poisoned or something, and I am very, very depressed about that. But I went over there Saturday night. Franklin saw Penny Penguin. We called her Penny Penguin because she's black and white and she looks like a penguin, all dressed up. And Franklin saw her there Saturday night, or rather late Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock or so. But Sunday morning when I went over to feed her, I didn't find her anywhere. And then I left her food, and Sunday afternoon I didn't see her, and Sunday evening, and now today, Monday, which is November the 25th, I've been over there quite a lot, 2 or 3 times, and I haven't seen her. I believe that somebody murdered her. This is the public access user's contract that Cablevision renews every year, and just sign it. And Oscar has my white out pen, so you just sign it, because remember, it won't stand up in courts if it's unconstitutional or if it deprives your rights. But anyway, I wrote at the bottom, under my signature, the following, if and as I can ever find it. It doesn't really have to be this long. Most of them are 1 page. But you know Cablevision, they break so many laws themselves, and they're always trying to cover up, and they're always fugitives. I say that in signing this agreement, Glendora reserves all rights, federal, state, constitutional, and statutory. Any such intention of this agreement to deprive Glendora of any right listed supra is not consented to, nor does Glendora waive any right to bring suit and present evidence. Now, what else is going on in Cablevision? I have been reading for 2 years, maybe 3, the New York statutes. One statute is the New York Business Corporation Law. These are the laws of the state of New York. And Cablevision, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn, and the management, and the board of directors, and the officers, and the corporation have violated just about every section of Article 7 and every section of Article 13, which is about foreign corporations. And the first thing the Cablevision people try to make you believe is that they are a foreign corporation. They are not a domestic corporation. In other words, they're incorporated in Delaware. That makes them a foreign corporation doing business in the state of New York. Well, there's no truth to that. And this lawsuit that I'm writing, and have been writing now for over a month, is already almost 40 pages long, as it is. I wish this were smell-o-vision, so you could smell the cooking of the millet loaf. 1 cup of millet, 5 cups of tomato juice, 1 medium onion, 4 tablespoons of ground sesame seeds, 1/2 cup of ground cashews or almonds, 1 can of chopped olives, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of sage, and 1/2 teaspoon of savory. And let me tell you, that is delicious. And here it is, folks. That just tastes so good, and it's so simple. And you bake it for, well, they say a couple hours, but I seem to get it done within an hour. I don't know what it is that makes it so good, but it is certain. You couldn't find anything tastier. President Clinton is just like any man. When he gets up in the morning, he shaves, except he shaves the budget. Donnie said to his grandpa, "Grandpa, why does my sister wear her blue jeans so tight?" And Grandpa says, "So she can fit into her compact car." And Ed says they have a product on daytime television that I wish I had every time I play poker. What is it? 2,000 flushes. Tell you about Tuesday, November the 19th. We went to the Nassau County Board of Elections. We asked for a file. 20 minutes later, we hadn't produced the file. And Bob Berry, the incompetent there, whose job it is to produce the files, walked off and never got it. And I say that 20 minutes is long enough to wait for a file. So we walked out. I am not impressed by the commissioners of Nassau County that I have dealt with. Board of Elections, the Commissioner for Senior Affairs, and the Commissioner for Consumer Affairs. So I think Mr. Berry should get on the ball, and I think he should do his job. He's an exhibitionist. He shows off all the time that he doesn't care and he doesn't have to care, and that the public has no rights, and that he is not a public servant. So boo on you. B-O-O on Y-O-O. From there we went to the county clerk, and we have finally got Julie Kessler versus Patrick Dolan, News 12. We finally got that file in order and dated and chronological, and you knew the charges she brought against them when she complained of sexual harassment, which turned out to be true, and when she complained to the New York Labor Department and the National Labor Board about not getting overtime, and that turned out to be true. She claimed that she was retaliated against, and her evidence would certainly, it's prima facie. So now the next step was to find out what Patrick Dolan could get by paying a couple of lawyers named Englander and Albert, who are in all along Old Country Road there, Mineola or Garden City. How many lies they could come up, and what paying them for lying would produce. Well, here's what they produced. Arts, mind you. Okay, here's the escape and the lie. The New York City Administrative Code is unenforceable outside of New York City. Complaint allegations cover no company but News 12. No company other than News 12 comes within the statutes. No causal link between the protracted activity and the alleged adverse action. Unfair treatment does not in itself constitute discrimination. Must demonstrate a causal link between the protracted activity and the adverse action, and it does not allege retaliation. Well, it does. I've read it. So that's what Patrick Dolan paid these Englander and Albert to come up with for lies. So the next thing was, and also they asked for sanctions and costs against Kessler for filing the lawsuit. Aren't you happy to know that Kessler won? Aren't you happy that Judge Feuerstein didn't fall for Cablevision? Defendants' a motion to dismiss various named defendants should. Now this is what the defendants are saying. They want to dismiss the defendants. They always want to do that. Cover up, protect the guys. The defendants say that no causal link between the allegations, the alleged something action. I can't read this. This is Franklin's writing. Manhattan write back that the motion for sanctions and costs is improperly before Judge Feuerstein. And all along that NBC News, WNBC, Channel 4 News had control over News 12 all along, and I know that to be a fact because I know insiders at Channel 4 News. So I know that to be a fact. But I believe the court and the defendants made her back down on that. I know that she won because the day after the decision was signed, ordered by Feuerstein, Dolan appealed.
That Dolan was aware of the prior things that happened, even though he wasn't news director.
And the judge says undisputable what?
About the incident of sexual harassment, the incident.
And undisputed what? Department of Labor claims?
Department of Labor's ruling about their having not complied with the law about overtime. That was undisputed.
Feuerstein ruled this. And then what's this?
The judge also said that plaintiff Julie Kessler, has showed sufficiently that Dolan was aware of what had happened. That is the sexual harassment and the Department of Labor ruling, even though he wasn't a news director at that time of News 12, he was certainly aware of it.
This is Patrick Dolan. And then what's this say?
And then the judge was also impressed by Kessler's detailed narration of adverse conduct by Dolan. That is, his attitude toward her at the time when she asked him what she could do to change his attitude. And he said to withdraw the Department of Labor charges and to resign.
Yeah, great answer. So next week, folks, that'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow we will copy pages 6, 7, and 8 for you of Feuerstein's decision, and we will read it to you. I told the people in the clerk's office a few jokes. We went across the street to the Department of Consumer Affairs, and for the 13th time, James Picken was a fugitive. He wouldn't see us. I say if James Picken didn't have anything to do with taking the chat with Glendora off of TV and influencing Cablevision, I say if he didn't have anything to do with it, why doesn't he just come forward and say so? And you can believe him. But when you go over there 13 times and he runs in the opposite direction, I think that you have no other conclusion but that he did. Mrs. Kemp and Nancy, and I don't understand why Mrs. Kemp only works 3 days a week. I don't understand that at all. We have things that Andrew Herzman can put on the Cablevision hate page on the internet. Plenty of things that Cablevision has been convicted of exercising editorial control over public use of channel. Title 47, the United States Code, Section 531E. Also the New York State Executive Law, Article 28, Section 829.3. No cable operator shall prohibit or limit any programming designated for public channel. To say nothing of Title 19, New York Code Rules and Regulations 595.1. Nothing. So he can put that on there. He can also put on the fact that instead of returning subpoena money of $350, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn deposited it in the bank. If you had been given $350 subpoena money for travel and for the statutory fee for appearing at a trial, if you had been given that and the trial was stayed, what would you have done with the money? Yes, you would have returned it to the rightful owner, but not Dolan, Tata, and Quinn. They kept the money and put it in the bank. Remember, Americans for Legal Reform, if you have a problem with a lawyer, you ought to talk to these people. They are very good at exposing and making the public aware of the lying and stealing and crookedness of lawyers. And we are having a party, and you can come. on December 21st at the Old Beach Inn, Saturday at 1 p.m. Here's Charles Collins, who sounds like a goodly man, and he ran for president in this past election. Extra Help is going to go to 24 hours in January. Robert Goldberg wrote an excellent letter to the editor. It was published in Newsday about our not having our own free-standing public access channel. The Cablevision, the minutes of the Cablevision annual meeting of June 19th I have. It's very clear why they don't mention any names. They tell as little as they can possibly get away with, and that, of course, is the modus operandi of Cablevision. Lie and cover up. Break the laws, cheat, lie, steal, and then cover up. Why do you choose Trident gum? The little boy was asked. And he said, because I only have 3 teeth. And another little boy came out to the kitchen and tugged on his mother's apron strings and says, Mommy, Mommy, Daddy's in there watching television. What does NFL stand for? What does NFL stand for? And Mommy said, National Foolishness Live. And this is a golf joke. Harry had a terrible day on the golf course. He threw his golf balls into the pond. He threw his golf clubs into the pond. He threw his golf bag into the pond. He went up to the clubhouse. He slit his wrists. He's standing there bleeding to death. And Charlie came in and says, Hi, Harry. How about a game of golf tomorrow? And Harry says, What time? And here is a piece of the millet loaf. Telling you it's delicious. Wanted you to see it before I ate it. I wish you could have some. Early to bed and early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise, and very apt to get his own breakfast. Our accountant is brilliant. Really? Yes. The American Association of Accountants has named a loophole after him. And Sid and Joan are the perfect couple. She's a hypochondriac and he's a pill. As to what happened on Glendora versus Hosletter, Flyer, Nair, Ritter, Hawthorne, Guthrie, Sanders, Rainey, Cooper, American Cable Systems of New York Incorporated, and Continental Cablevision, and of course their parent now, U.S. West Telephone, and their CEO McCormick, and their group president of TV media, Charles Lewis. What happened this week? Well, the United States Court of Appeals, McLaughlin, Oaks, and Cabranes did their usual. Paid allegiance to the big business, got what they wanted, was just these bad reports about them off TV in Westchester, and sold their souls, violated their country, violated the Constitution of the United States, and violated the statutes of the United States. They affirmed Barrington D. Parker's traitorous decision to allow Continental to continue to rob me of free speech and to ignore entirely the law which says first come, first served. Glendora was there first, she must be served first. You can't replace Glendora with another show, and that's what they did. So all of these people that I named to you chose to sell themselves down the drain and to sell America down the drain and to ignore the law, first come, first served. It's atrocious. Why can't we have good people as judges? So, of course, I will write a petition for rehearing en banc all 25 judges to correct that injustice. You want to know something? Bryant stayed the trial on Cablevision on February 28th this year, 1996. On February 27th, the day before, Parker on Continental said, "I have read the law. It is concise and it is cryptic. It says first come, first served." What made him change his mind 180 degrees? I'm guessing. Bryant. You know, these people don't rule on the laws, the facts, and the merits. They rule on what's best for them. It's a very, very sad thing. And it certainly isn't what Franklin fought Normandy to Weimar, D-Day to VE Day for, and all the other Americans. It's terrible. These courts are ruining the country. What else is going on there? There's a motion before Magistrate Lisa Margaret Smith ever since July on summary judgment. Stupid motion. But Lisa Margaret Smith, United States Magistrate Judge, is on maternity leave. I will give you what these lawbreakers, liars, and cover-uppers have cost us. It's $833. What made him change his mind 180 degrees? I'm guessing. Bryant. You know, these people don't rule on the laws, the facts, and the merits. They rule on what's best for them. It isn't what Franklin fought Normandy to Weimar, D-Day to VE Day for, and all the other Americans. It's terrible. These courts are ruining the country. What else is going on there? There's a motion before Magistrate Lisa Margaret Smith ever since July on summary judgment. Stupid motion. But Lisa Margaret Smith on maternity leave. I will give you what these lawbreakers, liars, and cover-uppers have cost us. It's $833, and you multiply that by $250 an hour. out to $208,250 in legal fees. $1,765.27. I don't mean that we paid that. I mean that we've done that amount of work. $1,765.27 print, post, and rip-off court stenographers. 85 TV reports of U.S. West, McCormick, Lillis, Hosletter, betrayal of America. 3,376 pages, 19 volumes, 1.5 file drawers full of traitorship to the United States of America. 62 weeks, 1 year, 3 months of murdered speech and violation of the United States Constitution. I would not want that record. I would not want the record of the judge. I would not want the record of the lawyer. Mr. Walsh III. I would not want the record of the lawyer, the defendant. But that is what they chose. What has happened on that sleaze? John Malone, Telecommunications Incorporated. I went to Mamaroneck to do the inspection, the discovery that I had demanded on October the 13th, and Nona Carey Dunn and a woman named Diane at the reception desk wearing a baseball cap would not let us see the file. They knew they had done wrong, and were running away and were hiding, something that they had done for months and years. And everything is glassed in over there. These are people under glass. And Richard Wadman went by in slouch clothes. They were all in slouch clothes. They looked terrible. And they did not obey the discovery rule to produce the file that had anything to do with robbing us of our public access TV production. So I wrote a discovery dispute to Lisa Margaret Smith, the magistrate judge. Her clerk, James Galvin, is floating around. He has nothing to do because his judge is out. I wrote, or at least this is my discovery right here, for interrogatories, plaintiff's first set of interrogatories, request for production of documents, notice of depositions. And I wrote an order to show cause this morning for Judge Rakoff to sign on 10 counts. One, that he make the defense prove that they are represented. I do not think they are represented, and I think they are in fault. And Judge Rakoff dismissed the Glendora versus Mulholland. And he betrayed America. And he stood for everything that the flag does not stand for. And Glendora wrote a notice, a motion, and a motion for relief from his stupid judgment. And there's another one, I believe, where Judge Bryant called the shots and told Rakoff to dismiss him. We're moving on to the TCI, which the file on that, you don't know where everything is. It's 10,458 pages of lying, covering up John Malone, the worst cable monopolist in the country. They're all pretty bad, but he certainly is the worst. And let me tell you what his damages are. Just a minute. Bob Magnus, John C. Malone, Telecommunications Incorporated, Fred A. Vieira, Brendan R. Clouston, Donnie E. Fisher, Donnie $467.11 print, post, rip-off, court stenographer's fee. 1,790.25 hours times $250 an hour is $447,562.50 worth of legal labor. 51 weeks of emotional disturbance and interruption of life and career. 10,400 pages, 37 volumes. 3 file drawers of Malone Magnus law-breaking, lying, cover-up. 117 chapters on TV, 1/2 hour each, of betrayal to America. And so I had this order to show cause this morning to hang around the courthouse all morning to see if Judge Rakoff would sign it, and he denied it. More betrayal of America, more cover-up, more lying. I asked for the preliminary injunction. It's okay with Judge Rakoff to see my juvenile case obliterated because he doesn't like the truth, but bad reports about him. So you see, all of the judges they want the program off of TV because the program reports to you, truthfully, what is happening. And they don't want you to know. Glendora versus Malone, and the lawyers say specifically that they are representing these defendants on very limited purpose of just accepting a summons and acknowledging service to save costs. But on all other matters, like my order to show cause this morning and all those things, no defendants are not represented. And if they're not represented, they didn't appear. And if they didn't appear, they're in default. And if they're in default, they owe me $600 million. Other news. Tuesday night, Paul Finer of Greenburg, town of Greenburg, had a debate between TCI and Satellite Dish Company. So whatever you do, get rid of TCI and get a satellite. But make sure you don't get Primestar, because Primestar is owned by TCI. And let me show you the announcement of the debate. Dish Network versus TCI Westchester. So get rid of TCI. And folks, I have just about made up my mind as soon as I get a chance to call up that I am going to disconnect cable TV service. I am not going to pay money to those crooks, to those liars, to those thieves, to those cheats, and to those who cover up. I am just going to bust away from them. And who police the police? Now, citizens. Are very active on policing the police. And this is written by Rick Goldstein, who saw me in the county clerk's office and chased me around to the clerk and made sure I got this. And I apologized that I couldn't stop him, talk to him, but I had to get in an appeal, 2 appeals, and I had to get the informer paupers. But he says some very good things. Goldstein has a police report that confirms that his steering did not simply malfunction. Without Westport town employees confirmed that a car window did shatter. He has had lots of things happen to him since he has stood up to the police. Someone shot out one of his rear windows last year. He thinks that it is just because most white middle-class people tend to trust the police. No, don't ever do that. Implicitly, the experience of minorities is another matter, and cannot imagine them acting with callous disregard for the law. That initiatives to expose misconduct to civilian oversight have by and large been feeble, and two, it's very hard to read this, folks, I'm sorry. Toothless. Goldstein describes such initiatives as, that's Oscar, you know. I think I have to stop, lock him up somewhere. Initiatives as mere fig leaves because they allow police misconduct to continue virtually unchecked while leaving the public with the impression that the problem has been solved. Well, it hasn't been. Britt Goldstein. Watch the police.
Glendora, this is Mary Alice calling from Judge Fox's chambers. Please give me a call at your convenience at 914-390-4124. This is in connection with Glendora versus Magnus, 96 Civil 7518. Thank you very much. Bye.
Message 12:38 p.m. Monday, November 25.
Hi, Glendora. It's Debbie from Staples. Just wanted to let you know that the tenant's been cycling order to in and can be picked up at any time. Thank you.
Good old Debbie, she's terrific.
8:49 p.m. Monday, November 25. Of messages. Answer off. Enter yes to confirm. Messages erased.
guidance national, yet you're giving us one program on two different channels. Go home and try it. Channel 20 and Channel 46. They're about a couple of seconds apart. I don't think that's fair for the paper. Another thing, I paid the show time one night out. So I take the thing and everything, I come back, all scrambled.
Well, in terms of the event scramble, you should have told the office.
What are they going to do? Okay, $7 or something? That's all I ask.
Yeah, why did TCI murder public access? That's not funny. It's no joke. We have a Constitution in the United States, and we have congressional laws.
TCI still has public access and it's not defined communication.
They don't have it system-wide. That's a lie, and you know it's a lie. And you've been telling that lie ever since December. And you knew in the middle of 1995, when you negotiated these contracts with the municipalities, you knew then that you were going to murder public access, but you didn't tell them. And then you have to be so cheap as to take away our production facility in White Plains, and if you can't make a videotape to go to a cable company, then you've been robbed of your free speech.
I do have another question, and that is, you recently deleted Live Extension University from your system, and a lot of people in Westchester, myself included, are not behind that. I can explain from a scientific perspective. We've done a test with Intel where we've taken product directly in.
Cable, but also through your speaker and your phone line, actually. We do not have it service now in Westchester, but we intend to have the information. I'm not sure what the company is now in our test line. It's hard to get down or
That was also a question on technology, and I think that many certainly it's not really, we had the same meeting, we were looking 6 months from now, and we give it a state of it changing.
not now. No, there's no plan in the next foreseeable.
My impression is that
In 1997,
Fiber optics are already up here, all from so there's no more construction to be done as far as we provide that, it's already done. Everything that has to be done is done. I could be
Just a minor technical question, is the dish, the line of sight thing, trees around here,
Yeah, the dish does require a line of sight. Our satellites, our two satellites right now are currently located in geostationary orbit at about 100,000 feet.
There's no reason why
November the 19th, 1996, Tuesday, Anno Domini. The time is 9 p.m. Town of Greenberg Hall. Get rid of TCI. Get rid of TCI.
Message 2:94 p.m. Friday, November 29.
Yes, I would like a free hat book. Bill 2, 1820, New York Avenue. This is Belmore, New York. The zip code is 11710. That's 1820, New York Avenue, Belmore. And the name is Robert J. Reddington. R-E-D-D-I-N-G.
Message 4:10:05 p.m. Friday, November 29.
I want to get the free Glendora copybook. Harry Satcher, 133, Doges, D-O-G-E-S, Promenade, Lindenhurst, L-I-N-D-E-N. I want to get 133, Doges, D-O-G-E-S, Promenade, Lindenhurst, L-I-N-D-E-N-H-U-R-S-T,
Happy Book. My name is Amy Kelly, and my address is P.O. Box 357, Lindenhurst, New York, and the zip code is 11757. Thank you. I love watching you on TV. Bye-bye.
Message 9:10:15 p.m. Friday, November 29. Yes, please send me a happy book. Friend McDonough, McDonough, 34 Wren, WREN Court, Roseport, New York, 11768. Message again. Friday, November 29. Send me the happy book at my address, 458 Chester Street, Uniondale, New York, 11553. I need the happy book. Message 13:10:20 p.m. Friday, November 29.
Hi, Glendora. My name is Jacqueline. Thank you for sharing your happiness with me. I would like a copy of your happiness book. My phone number is area code 516. It's 378-5735. My address is 110 Brooklyn Avenue, Freeport, New York. Again, my name is Jacqueline Kelly.
Message 14:10:26 p.m. Friday, November 29.
I want a happy book at Pittsburgh, Knoll, KNOWLES, 150 Parsons Drive, EARSONS, Hempstead, HEMPSTEAD, New York, YRK, 11550. Happy book. Happy book. Copy of your happy book. Sent to my house. Send me a Glendora book. Look at 32 Peachtree Lane, Hicksville, New York, 11801. Billy Sacarino. I love you, Glendora.
Message 26:10:46 p.m. Friday, November 29.
Hi, I'd like to get a happy book. My name is Ed Shemikian from JERMAKIAN. I live at 171 Ontario Street in Albany, New York. Ontario, ONTARIO, apartment 2, and the code is 12206. Thank you very much. It's a funny joke. Happy
End of messages. Enter command or star for help.
Oscar Bryan. You want a close-up of Oscar Bryan? He's 3.5 months old now. And he never ceases to bite the hand that feeds him. Perpetual biter. Don't you think you ought to be good since you're on television at least? Boy, he's a wild cat, this cat. He has his moments, though. He has his moments of kisses and affection. You wouldn't believe it seeing this. And now we're going to tell you some jokes. A woman's work is never done. You want to know why? That's because of daytime television. And Bob says he's as fit as a fiddle. And his mother-in-law says yes, and shaped like a cello. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, particularly on Mondays. And live each day, folks, as though it were your last. And one day, you will be right. Mary says it isn't the thought that counts, it's the gift. Center for Judicial Accountability has a page on the internet. It's http htttom/p-paul:11 www Judge Watch. Judge Watch. Isn't that great? And the Center for Judicial Accountability, if you have any complaints about judges, you must call the Center for Judicial Accountability. That number is 914. That's White Plains. 421. 1200. Center for Judicial Accountability. Judges must be accountable for the wretched things that they do to people, just the way a criminal has to be accountable. Manhattan Neighborhood Network has an internet address, and they asked me if I wanted to be on it, and I said sure. And their address is www.MNN, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, org. And now we have gone into 3 Cablevision investigation books. The first one is over in their 5th file box. And I have some things to report to you. We finally got the story on where Julie Kessler beat Patrick Dolan in Kessler versus News 12, Patrick Dolan. And we have finally finished that file, got it in order, and handed it back to the clerk, and we won't be going back to the county, Nassau County clerk. And they won't be having any more jokes, and we won't be giving them any more hymns. We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He hastens and chastens his will to make known. The wicked oppressing now cease from distressing. Sing praises to his name, he forgets not his own. Let me first of all find you a pretty good summary of Kessler, and then we will read you the last few paragraphs of the judge's decision. Judge Feuerstein. This case is Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Nassau. Index number is 22984 of 94. This lawsuit was brought in August of 1994. Plaintiff Julie Kessler respectfully submits this memorandum of law in support of her motion pursuant to Civil Rules and Practice Laws and Civil Practice Laws and Rules, CPLR, Section 3103 for a protective order vacating defendant's first set of interrogatories, or in the alternative, limiting the scope of defendant's deposition of plaintiff, scheduled to begin on November 13, 1995. This is an action, writes M.S. Kessler's lawyers, alleging sexual harassment and retaliation. Defendants initially moved to dismiss this action in its entirety. This court substantially denied the motion, granting only that portion limited to the dismissal of the corporate affiliates of defendant News 12 Long Island. Plaintiff then initiated discovery, and defendants sought a stay of all discovery pending a decision on their appeal of the denial of the motion to dismiss. The stay was denied, so she got him. This Feuerstein decision came out on May the 8th or so-and-so, 1995. Immediately the next day, to show you how incensed Patrick Dolan was, it was appealed to the Appellate Division, 2nd Department. As to what happened in the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, I am not going to go to that rotten court. So if you want the record, go down there and you can get it. In July 1995, counsel for the plaintiff and defendants agreed to a schedule for responding to plaintiff's interrogatories and document requests and defendants' document requests, and to take depositions. A copy of the letter scheduling depositions is attached as Exhibit B to the affidavit of J.P. Levy Warren, Plaintiff's deposition was scheduled for at least 3 days to begin on November 13, 1995. Documents have been exchanged as scheduled. The interrogatories were atrocious. They were the product of a diseased mind. There's no question about it. There were 57 pages of interrogatories. Now, in the United States District Court, you aren't allowed to do that. In fact, you aren't allowed to have interrogatories at all, except as to names and addresses and settlement and insurance. That's about it. So this was definitely harassment on the part of Patrick Dolan and his lawyers, Albert and Englander, who are out there in Mineola someplace on Old Country Road. So she is asking for an order of protection from this excessive steep of interrogatories. On October 11, 1995, plaintiff was served with interrogatories that are so extensive as to constitute a deposition by written questions. The interrogatories are 57 pages in length, including instructions, with 203 enumerated interrogatories. Many of these interrogatories have multiple subparts. A copy of the interrogatories is attached to the Levy Warren affidavit as Exhibit C. In effect, defendant seeks to obtain two depositions, the first written and the second oral. Plaintiff now moves for a protective order to strike these interrogatories in their entirety. Statement of facts. Plaintiff was hired, that's Julie Kessler, by News 12, Long Island, on or about December 1986 as a reporter weekend producer. She was subsequently promoted to reporter, then consumer editor, and I'm interested in what she knows about the Department of Consumer Affairs in Nassau. Then consumer editor, and in late 1990 she was given weekly morning substitute anchoring responsibilities. During 1991, Kessler made 2 complaints to the news director that she and other female co-workers were subjected to sexual harassment by the executive producer. Almost immediately after making her second complaint about sexual harassment, Kessler began experiencing incidents of retaliation, which continued through the termination of her employment in April 1994. They eventually fired her. Another escape, more fugitivism. In or about January 1993, Kessler made a complaint to the Department of Labor that News 12 was violating the Fair Labor Standards Act by not paying overtime rates to its reporters. After the Department of Labor commenced an investigation of News 12, defendants retaliated against plaintiff based on their belief that she had caused the investigation. In April of 1994, shortly after News 12 started to pay overtime to employees, showing that News 12 was right, not previously included in its overtime policy, Kessler was terminated in retaliation for her complaints about Federal Labor Standards Act violations and sexual harassment. So that's a pretty good summary of what happened. And I have told you other side views of this. Now we're going to read Feuerstein's last few pages. Feuerstein is a Nassau County Supreme Court Justice. Thereafter, the Department of Labor notified News 12 that it was starting an investigation regarding News 12's denial of overtime pay to reporters, assignment editors, associate producers, producers, and anchors. Certainly, plaintiff's filing of that complaint qualifies as a protected activity under the Federal Labor Standards Act. The complaint further alleges that on or about June 1993, Dolan told plaintiff he was displeased that she had continued to keep track of her work hours on her timesheets. How crooked can you get? And that it was clear that she had been the one who had filed the complaint with the Department of Labor. If proven at trial, this allegation would establish that News 12 and Patrick Dolan were aware that plaintiff had filed the complaint in question. Therefore, the first element of the federal cause of action has been sufficiently alleged. Thank you, Judge Feuerstein. As to the second element, the complaint alleges that from the time the Department of Labor notified News 12 of its investigation until plaintiff's employment was terminated in May 1994. Defendants retaliated against her for filing a complaint with the Department of Labor. For those of you who might have just tuned in, I am reading you an account of Julie Kessler versus Patrick Dolan, News 12, to show you how dishonorable and how dishonest and how fugitive the Dolans are and Cablevision is as managed by them. This is the same thing that I found out about them in Glendora versus Cablevision, a lawsuit that has gone on for 3 years. Specifically, the complaint, says Judge Feuerstein, charges that the retaliatory actions taken against plaintiff included, but were not limited to, removal of plaintiff's regular camera crew, refusal to provide plaintiff with a substitute camera crew, threats that her employment would be terminated, false accusations of lateness, absenteeism, insubordination, and poor work performance, all of which Kessler claims she did not commit. Plaintiff then further describes with particularity conduct towards her on the part of Patrick Dolan. Thus, plaintiff has adequately alleged the second element of her federal cause of action. We're up to page 6 of Judge Feuerstein's decision on or about May the 6th or 7th, 1995. Regarding the third element, a causal connection between the protected activity and the adverse employment decision, plaintiff's complaint sets forth a course of seemingly vindictive conduct by defendant Dolan, Patrick Dolan, upon which, if established at trial, a jury could find the requisite causal connection. Perhaps most significantly, it is alleged that when plaintiff asked Patrick Dolan what she, Kessler, could do to change his behavior toward her, he responded that his first choice was that she withdraw her complaint with the Department of Labor, even though they're breaking the law. He wants to get by with it and cover up, like any Dolan, and that his second choice was her resignation. Accordingly, plaintiff's third claim for relief sufficiently states a cause of action against both remaining defendants, Dolan and News 12, for violating Section 215A3 of the Federal Labor Standards Act. Now, although the elements of retaliatory discrimination under state law are the same as for its federal counterpart, plaintiff's first cause of action presents a less clear-cut fact pattern. As against News 12, the complaint alleges that on approximately January 1991, plaintiff complained to the then news director, Norman Fine, that she and some female co-workers were subjected to sexual harassment by the executive producer, of which she made a further complaint to Fine 2 months later. Additionally, News 12 investigated plaintiff's complaint and found them to be meritorious. And the investigation ultimately led News 12 to discharge the executive producer on or about April 1991. Now it is obvious that the above-noted complaints of sexual harassment, says Judge Feuerstein, constitute a protected activity under Executive Law Article 15, and that since News 12 investigated these complaints, it was aware of them. Whether Patrick Dolan was also aware of those complaints is not, however, clear, since he did not become News 12's news director until on or about November 17, 1991. That was because Charles Dolan needed a job for his son Patrick, so he fired Norman Fine. Subsequent to plaintiff's complaints and after News 12's investigation thereof had ended. Nonetheless, this information is in defendant Dolan's possession, and his motion to dismiss the first claim for relief is denied, hooray, without prejudice to renew after completion of discovery. In this regard, plaintiff has made a sufficient showing that defendant Dolan could have been aware of her prior complaints, which led to the discharge of an executive producer. Given the proximity and time of this history to defendant Dolan's becoming plaintiff's boss, he may well have been aware of her prior complaints. The second element of retaliatory discrimination, writes Judge Feuerstein, under the executive law, is aptly met by the detailed narrative of adverse conduct by defendant Dolan towards Julie Kessler, exemplified in her complaint. So on the issue of causation, this complaint alleges a continuing pattern of adverse treatment from 1991 to plaintiff's termination May of '94, writes Judge Feuerstein, as a jury would find that this treatment was motivated by a desire to retaliate against plaintiff because of her complaints of sexual harassment in 1991 and the time lapsed between those complaints and plaintiff's discharge, as well as the intervening Federal Labor Standards Act complaint, are factors for the juror's evaluation in determining whether a causal connection exists. Causation has been adequately alleged. So this is the beginning of the downfall of Patrick Dolan and his fight with Julie Kessler. He loses with the Supreme Court Justice Sandra Feuerstein. We have a Sandra Miller in the appellate division. He loses with her. He loses on the fact that the statute of limitations, 3 years, is a grounds for dismissal, and it is not. Defendant's motion to dismiss this action as time barred is denied. Finally, defendant's request for the imposition of sanctions against plaintiff for having asserted a claim under the Administrative Code of the City of New York is denied. Plaintiff's belief that one of the defendants was located in New York City was not unreasonable, and thus her assertion of that claim was not frivolous. In these circumstances, sanctions are unwarranted against the plaintiff, Julie Kessler, who has pressed legally sufficient causes of action and is not opposing dismissal of the invalid claim. Dated May the 8th, 1995, Honorable Sandra J. Feuerstein, Justice of the Supreme Court, State of New York. That's the beginning of Patrick Dolan's downfall. But he thought he could scare Kessler, apparently, because he immediately the next day appealed this decision of Feuerstein to the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, and that's in Brooklyn. Then the discovery started. And you want to know something, folks? The discovery of Patrick Dolan was scheduled at approximately the same week, November of 1995, as Glendora's depositions of William Quinn, who is the president of Cablevision Systems Corporation, now not of the corporation, which is Cablevision Systems Corporation, but of the systems, you know, the operation of the cable systems. And Glendora's deposition of Joseph Aznara, and Charles Former's being called to the Judge Fox court, and from which court he was bounced for making faces. And that the interesting thing is that here is Cablevision being sued by two women, and one a pro se, myself a pro se. And here they are being deposed the same week, practically, November of 1995. And we were really doing a job on them. So I don't know whether that had anything to do with it or not, with Dolan's finally backing down, but I would assume that Patrick Dolan didn't want to be deposed. He was going to be asked the questions, and he was supposed to be under oath to tell the truth. And I imagine that that got to Patrick Dolan. He doesn't like to tell the truth. The Dolans do not. They cover up everything. I have found that out in 3 years. So I guess the fact that Feuerstein ruled against him, and the fact that the appeal of the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, didn't scare off Kessler and her lawyers in Manhattan, and the fact that Patrick Dolan was going to be deposed, I would say that that cracked him, and he said, I'll settle. He was obviously wrong. He was obviously going to lose. So Kessler wins. I have a little piece to read you of November 9th, 1995. That's just 2 days after I deposed Joseph Aznara, who's the head of the Long Island Cablevision Systems, all four of them. We represent the plaintiff, Julie Kessler. It says in the above referenced matter, this is Vladik, Waldman, Elias, and Engelhard. On November 1st, 1995, plaintiff filed a motion for a protective order to strike defendant's first set of interrogatories. We have received a letter from defendant's counsel informing us that defendants have withdrawn their first set of interrogatories. Accordingly, plaintiff hereby withdraws her motion, for a protective order. It gives me indigestion. Sorry. And that's it. That's the case. Now next week I want to talk to you about the fact that they settled this case, but you were denied your right to know what the settlement was. So next week we will discuss that further. Other news on Cablevision, folks. Glendora versus Charles Dolan. Joseph Osnara, Cablevision Systems Corporation, John Tata, William Quinn, and about 6 other defendants. A lawsuit that started 3 years ago, and Cablevision is too greedy and grubby to own up to the fact that they broke a federal law and a state law. They have been convicted of that. They should be paying the damages. They should be going to trial like Americans, but they choose to betray their country. They choose not to face the music, and they choose to be fugitives. News on that is that I was going through the file in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, in the White Plains branch, and I found an order from Judge Bryant that I had never seen before. The order said that a copy was sent to me. Well, it may have been or it may not have been, but I have never seen it, and I've never received it. And this order was compelling Cablevision's attorney, crooked attorney, Robert Callaghan, to pay Glendora $120 for the audio tape that Callaghan ordered and never paid for. And this is the 6th time that the United States District Judge has ordered cheap Callaghan to do this. Another thing it said is that the minutes for the October 26, 1995, that's a year and a month ago, conference must be given to Glendora without charge. And I have never heard of a federal judge doing that, and I think it's wonderful. To greedy and grubby to own up to the fact that they broke a federal law and a state law. They are convicted of that. They should be paying the damages. They should be going to trial like Americans, but they choose to betray their country. They choose not to face the music, and they choose to be fugitives. News on that is that I was going through the file in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, in the White Plains branch, and I found an order from Judge Bryant that I had never seen before. The order said that a copy was sent to me. Well, it may have been or it may not have been, but I have never seen it, and I've never received it. And this order was compelling Cablevision's attorney, crooked attorney, Robert Callaghan, to pay Glendora $120 for the audio tape that Callaghan ordered and never paid for. And this is the 6th time that the United States District Judge has ordered cheap Callaghan to do this. Another thing it said is that the minutes for the October 26, 1995, that's a year and a month ago, conference must be given to Glendora without charge. And I have never heard of a federal judge doing that, and I think it's wonderful. So I wrote a motion to Judge Bryant asking to collect on that, on both of those things, and certainly thanking him for the relief on 2 accounts that he granted me. I have to sue Cablevision Yorktown for violating my free speech by not cablecasting my program the Friday after Thanksgiving in Cross River. I wrote out this order to show cause, why they had to show cause that they couldn't do this, but I read it to them over the telephone because the United States District Court has a rule that you have to notify the defendants that you are going to bring on an order to show cause for a temporary restraining order and a preliminary injunction. But here's the order right here, folks. Memorandum to docket clerk, hearing begun and concluded on December the 11th, 1995, of plaintiff's motion that the court procure the October 26, 1995 conference minutes for Glendora with no charge, and that Attorney Callaghy pay the $120 for the audio tape he ordered that was made especially for him. Court reporter Angela O'Donnell, judge's decision, decision by endorsement, order signed. Signed by Charles L. Bryant. Copies mailed, it says. Maybe, but I never got any. The first I found out about it was a year and a month later. Okay, I'm trying to find... Here, I want you to see this. Complaints about lawyers. I'm handing this in now with my legal papers. Watch this, folks. Now, this is the number you should call. If you have complaints about lawyers, call 516-421-6390, Americans for Legal Reform. Get your pencil and get your paper and write that down. Complaints about lawyers, call 516-421-6390. Now, I want to take the Center for Judicial Accountability and ask them to put out something like this that says complaints about judges. Call 914-421-1200. Walk into the clerk's office with this great big sign, and the place is just, you know, squirming with lawyers. So it's really fun to do that. I'm trying to find for you the stats of how much money they have cost us. I'm getting the shaft from the pro se clerk. I made a motion, a notice of appeal, to appeal Bryant's lousy decision, that I had to appeal Silverman's lousy decision in order to get my trial. Not that I'm ever going to get my trial, because Bryant is dedicated to being a crook, taking it. But we'll keep fighting that and see how it comes out. Anyhow, I'm getting the shaft, as I started to tell you, because I made a motion under Rule 60B, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, for relief from Judge Bryant's crooked order, to make me appeal. I appealed because the time was up, but I appealed as an informa pauperis. I didn't have to pay, and I can withdraw that appeal without being prejudiced. So I'm getting the shaft in that the pro se clerk sent my notice of appeal to Bryant for him to approve it. Now, is that stupid or isn't it stupid? The appeal is against Bryant. Is he going to approve it? These courts are so crooked. Here are the dollars that the lying, law-breaking, and cover-up of Charles Dolan, Mark Lusgarten, Francis Randolph, John Tata, James Colfault, Joseph Aznara, William Quinn, William Bell, Cablevision Systems Corporation have cost us in 3 years of betraying their country. $7,911.75 print, post, and rip-off court stenographer fees. 3,723 hours times $250 per hour comes out to $920,625 of legal labor we have done. 46 volumes, 13,936 pages, 5 file drawers of Dolan, Tata, Quinn, law-breaking, lying, and cover-up. 297 TV programs, this is 298, a half an hour each, reporting the same. 3 years of betraying their country and 334 mailings. Yes, if you would be nice. It would be nice if you would be nice. I bet I could make him go to sleep. Wouldn't you like to go to sleep under this nice 600-watt light? And then his eyes begin to close, close, close. Wouldn't you just like to go to sleep? Wouldn't you? You would just love to go to sleep, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Huh? He's a cute little fella. Biting me all the time. But I still love him. All right. I believe I've told you the worst side of the Dolans and the worst side of the United States District Court and the worst side of the Westchester County Supreme Court, state of New York. I have this volume. Let me look in here and see if it's, oh, will you stop the biting? Now, how can I read the paper to the people if you sit on the papers? Oh yes, Rebecca Roxon Carley, MD. I am one of the many Americans who is fed up with those who hold an unconstitutional monopoly of power in all branches of governments, that is, lawyers. Good for you, Dr. Carley. Unconstitutional monopoly of power in all branches of a government, i.e. lawyers, who write the laws and enforce the laws, yet loophole themselves into positions of being above the law. Good for you. I am so disgusted, in fact, that I have decided to run against the most corrupt member of Congress myself in 1998. Obviously, I am referring to Alphonse D'Amato. Pippi. To demonstrate how your group holds everyone else, but in particular physicians, to a higher standard than themselves, one of the many examples I will be using is the manner in which Dr. Henry Foster was persecuted by yourself, this is to Senator Specter, and other attorneys during the confirmation hearings for the position of Surgeon General due to the fact he has performed a number of perfectly legal abortions. A nominee for president in the last cycle, Senator Specter, I would like to know why you didn't disclose to America that when you were a defense attorney in Pennsylvania, you performed the service of having Ira Einhorn, released on bail after Holly Maddox, his butchered girlfriend's rotting remains were found in your client's closet subsequent to their dripping onto his downstairs neighbor. It was reported on Unsolved Mysteries that Mr. Einhorn skipped bail in the 1970s and is still missing. Don't you think America would be just as, if not more, interested in that service to the public as they were in how many abortions Dr. Foster performed? I noticed that your webpage only mentions your work as a prosecutor. Now, next week I will read you more of Dr. Carley's fight against lawyers. She was at Americans for Legal Reform. You must go to those meetings. Tuesday nights, 7 p.m., last Tuesday of the month, in the Sweet Hollow Library. Go. And Harvey Cash read a letter that he wrote to Newsday, pointing out Newsday's errors in writing the story about Harvey Cash versus the Suffolk County law, Suffolk County Bar Association, a group of lawyers. Your Honor, it says, ha! This arrogant bully lied under oath. Judge Bernard Bloom. My, I'll have to read you that too. Is justice possible, writes Dr. Carley in this montage. So I think the Suffolk County Bar Association should be, and I'm going to read you her cartoon. I have to come up there closer because the light glares it out. I'm reading you from the Cablevision Investigations book, Volume 3. So I'll read that to you next week, I hope. And murder in the first degree. You might as well come over here and go through these right with you. Next one is, anyway, last Tuesday of the month. These are handouts at the Americans for Legal Reform last Tuesday of the month. in the Sweet Hollow Library. That's in Melville, right off of Route 110. That is where the Melville Post Office is, where LIE comes in, Route 110, and where the Northern State comes into Route 110. And a man came in from Manhattan who started a project ago, and he wants to Fort Totten, and so he wants to have a place at